Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss. I haven't done anything for you to be proud of.
Of course you have. You are marrying a man who can support you.
Hi ladies, it's Yoni and I'm back with another video. Please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you're new here, please click the subscribe button and also turn on your post notifications because I will be uploading Monday through Thursday. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about this friendship story that went viral all over TikTok. I believe the original video has 7.6 million views, and it caught my attention right before it ended up going viral because I am into the whole friendship stories on TikTok. I don't know about you guys, but this story had to do with a 8-year friendship that ended all over a trip, a girls' trip to Miami. Now, I know we like to focus a lot on vetting men, but we also need to get in a habit of vetting women as well when it comes to friendship. And the reason is because you don't want to go on a girls' trip and get kicked out of your hotel room and then you have no place else to go. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about this viral story of a woman that took a girls' trip to Miami with another girl that she knew for 8 years, and she called her friend, and it just ended badly. This seems to happen a lot. I don't know. It's just something about Miami girls who take trips to Miami and how it never goes well. So let's go ahead and get into today's video, and then I'll be back for the remainder of my commentary.
You know how they always say that girls go to Miami and they leave not friends? I'm going to tell you why. I think that a lot of girls are getting to Miami with the idea that the pretty privilege they get in their city also works in Miami. Now, you may be pretty in your city, but you may not be Miami pretty. And with Miami also being very colorist, I think that a lot of girls get there with little to no money, thinking that they can rely on their looks, and then they get the shock of their lives. So I'm going to tell you my Miami story and how this trip ended an 8-year friendship. So back in 2014, me and my friend decided to go to Miami for Memorial Day. Now, I moved to Canada 2013, and she had called me around December 2013 saying that her car had gotten towed. She lives in New York. She had parked it on the street, and when it snows in New York, if you don't move your car, when the plow comes to move the snow, they'll tow your car. Now, she had like $2,000 in outstanding parking tickets on the car. So when they towed it, they kept it. And they told her she couldn't get it until she paid it off. So she called me crying. By this time, I haven't even gotten my first paycheck yet. Like, I moved November 30th. It's like December 15th. So I gave her what was in my savings, which was $700. Now, the new year comes and she's telling me she's going to pay me back. But as we get closer to Miami, Memorial Day, May, I told her straight up, like, listen, I can't go unless you pay me back. Like, that $700 is like my travel, spending, all that kind of money. It's not something I could just throw away. And at the time, the Canadian dollar to the US dollar, that $700 was like 1,000 Canadian. So she's like, all right, girl, I'm going to pay you back when we get to Miami. So I paid for everything, thinking that when I get to Miami, she's going to give me my $700 back. Because she is irresponsible, she missed her flight. The hotel is on her credit card. So when I arrived before her, I couldn't check in. So they had to move the room to my card so that I could check in first. She arrives, gives me $500, and yeah, we start the weekend. We go to Forever 21 that was up on Lincoln, and she's blowing a bag. I'm looking at her because you still owe me $200. So I'm like, yeah, when am I going to get the rest of my money, please? She gives it to me like I'm begging her for my money back. I start to notice throughout the weekend that she's not eating anything, like nothing. Like, she'll be like, oh, I'm not hungry, and then try to eat my fries. I'm like, listen, I only brought enough money for me to eat. So, yeah, no. We're on Ocean, and I'm eating. She's trying to eat off me, and I tell her straight up, like, listen, if you're hungry, buy something. But come to find out, I don't think she has any money. Stay tuned for part 2. I could tell her money was a little funny because earlier that morning when we was getting ready in the hotel room, we stayed at Clevelander. Her neighbor had called her from New York and was like, yo, the sheriff is at your door putting an eviction notice up. So I don't want to eavesdrop. So I come out the bathroom and I'm just like, hey, hon, is everything okay? Now, we're both Leos, so there's a bit of ego there. She's like, everything is fine. Everything is good. She got an attitude. So I was like, I'm not going to press the issue. So we're on Ocean with, I'm eating, and she's trying to pick off my plate, and she sees a group of guys walk by. And she hails them, and the boy is like, oh, come with us. Our hotel has a beach behind it. They're staying at SLS. So we walk down to SLS, and at the beach, they brought like a cooler of drinks. Mind you, she's on an empty stomach. She is downing these drinks, like with nothing in her stomach for the last damn near 2 days. She's throwing it back. I knew she was drunk when she told me she had to go to the bathroom, and she walks into the ocean only up to her knees, everything exposed, and starts peeing. I had to run up to her in the ocean with a towel to like stand in front of her and cover her. So she's falling down drunk, and one of the guys is like, oh, are you hungry? You want anything? She's like, yeah, we're staying at Clevelander. He's like, you know what? I'm going to put some money on your room so that you can get whatever you like. We get in the car. She's falling down drunk. Like, we're holding her up. She cannot stand. Pull up to Clevelander, and I'm trying to help her out of the car. And the guy is like, yo, we're going to a white party if you want to come, but it's in Fort Lauderdale. Now, she had valeted her car. So she was like, oh, yeah, we'll meet you there. We're all looking at her like, you're in no position to drive. I'm like, well, can one of you guys stay? I can't drive. So I'm like, can one of you guys stay and drive us? Don't let them take my car. She's yelling at me in the street at the corner of Clevelander. And I'm like, you know what? She's drunk. I'm not going to argue with her. I'm just going to let her sober up. So the boy helps me walk her to the lobby of Clevelander. Now, in the lobby of Clevelander, there is a restaurant. If you know, in Miami, Clevelander has like all of those seats outside at the corner of the ocean. I go to the front desk and I'm like, hey, can I order a pitcher of water and some chicken wings and fries to the room? She's gonna need it. She leaves me in the lobby and goes upstairs. I come upstairs, she's sitting on the bed naked with her wig off, right? 10 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. It's the water and the wings. She was like, whose fucking food is this? She starts going off. I'm looking at her like, this is for you. So you want to use my money to eat? You know that nigga gave me the money to put on the room, and now you want to use it? Mind you, this meal is $14. And I'm looking at her like, she's screaming with the door open, naked, with no wig on. And the waiter's just standing there like, stay tuned for part 3. So I dive past her to get the door closed so that, she not out here flashing the whole floor. And I take the water from him, I take the wings from him, and I set it down on her bed. And she's still yelling, like still ranting and raving about how I wouldn't let her eat my food, and now I think I'm gonna eat the food of this man that got it for her. Mind you, the boy only put $50 on the room. Like, so she's so loud that the neighbor knocks on the door. I start to laugh. Like, this whole thing has been ridiculous to me. She's like, oh, you want to laugh? All right, good. Watch what I do. She goes into the bathroom, puts on a bathrobe, slaps a wig on her head with no shoes on, walks out. I start to change. Like, clearly we're not going to this white party. Like, she's not going to sober up. She's acting crazy. Less than 5 minutes later, I hear banging on the door, and it's 2 security guards. I think that she must have fell in the lobby. Like, that's the kind of friend I am. That even after all of this madness, I'm concerned about her well-being. I'm like, the second I open the door and see the security, I'm like, is she okay? I'm thinking either she fell in the lobby or she tried to get her car. And remember, she's drunk, so valet is not going to give her the car. He's like, you got to come down to the front. I'm like, why? He's like, the girl is down there saying that this is her room and she wants you out on the street. What? She went down to them and told them I don't belong in the room and that they should kick me out of the room. Now, let me tell you how my God works. Remember, she arrived late to Miami. So technically the room is on my name. The person who ended up checking me in, because I arrived at like 7 p.m. at night and the front desk was closed. The person who checked me in ended up being the hotel manager. So when I come down, he's like, "Oh, Missy Caroline." Like, he's French Canadian, and we had like a full conversation when I was checking in about Canada. And so when he sees me, he's like, no. This is Caroline's room. Pulls up the record, and lo and behold, the room is on my card. So she starts shrieking. Like, he's like, "Okay, you can't go back up. Like, until you get yourself together, you can't go back up." He's like, "Missy Caroline, do you want her to come back in or no?" And I'm like, when she calms down, she can come back up. But in this state, she can't. She needs to calm down. I will bring down some clothes for her, but she can't come in the room acting crazy. Seeing that people are on my side, she starts calling everyone everything but a child of God. She cussed out the hotel manager, security, to the point where he's like, "Yeah, you gotta leave, or we're gonna call Miami PD." So they walk her back up to the room. They give her opportunity to pack her stuff. And my flight is at 6 a.m. So yeah, she gets the guy that put the money on the room to come and pick her up. I fly back to Canada, and yeah, that was the end of an 8-year long friendship. So this blew up a lot more than I expected. So I want to clear up some misconceptions. Number one, when people are like, "Oh, your best friend," y'all use that term very loosely. Though I've known her for 8 years. We met freshman year of college. After college, I stayed in Philly. She went to med school in the Caribbean. So by the time she finished there after 3 years, she moved to New York to do residency. And that was around the same time I was moving to Canada. So when she called me for the money, I had only been in Canada 2 weeks. I used all of my savings not only to pay first and last for an apartment, but to clear the stuff I moved from Philly through customs. Like, I'm in a new country without a paycheck. So when she asked for the money, she asked for the full $2,000, and I basically told her I don't have it. And how she responded to that was so ungrateful that while we were in the bank, the teller was like, "Yo, I wouldn't send it to her." But I still did. Now, I told her straight up, like, I am in a country that's very expensive. Like, what I thought I would be making versus the actual taxes they take out of my check was vastly different. Especially they put 15% tax on everything here in Canada. So money was running out very quickly. So I let her know when I was sending her the money that I needed by February, because I needed to pay my February rent. As the end of January is nearing, she don't got the money. So she's like, "Oh, girl, I got you in March." She keeps extending it. So by April, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited for Memorial Day." I'm like, "What going on Memorial Day?" She's like, "Oh, girl, we going to Miami." "Who going to Miami?" "I don't have money. I'm trying to explain it to you." She was like, "Girl, I'm going to send you your little money." It's now little. I'm like, "Okay, send it right away because I really need it." She's like, "Oh my God, they charge $50 for a wire transfer." "I know, because that's what I paid to send you the money initially." She's like, "It would just be so much easier if I give it to you cash in person." So that's why I went, because I needed the money. And it was kind of a way to like rekindle our friendship, because we hadn't seen each other in almost 4 years. When I get to Miami and she hands me $500, I go straight to the bank because I kept my American bank account open, but my cell phone bill is coming out of it. I have a P.O. box that's coming out of it. Like, they're on auto pay, and they made the account overdraft. So I immediately go to clear the overdraft. So yeah, I needed money. I needed all of my money. By the time I cleared the overdraft, I had like $300. I brought a prepaid credit card with me because I don't have credit in Canada, so they haven't given me a credit card yet. And this prepaid credit card has 500 Canadian on it. Get to the hotel and I have to check in, so they clear that entire amount. Like, I can't even use the card. Canadian debit cards at the time didn't work in the US, so all I had was cash. Imagine, now I have about $200 for 4 days in Miami, and she wants to eat everything I'm eating. I can't afford it. So now I realize, of the $500 she's given me, I need everything. Like, I paid all of my bills. I can't use my Canadian debit card. So she's like, "Girl, let's go down to Lincoln Drive." We get down there, we're in Forever 21, and she's picking things up. I'm walking through the aisles like friggin' Orphan Annie, because I can't afford nothing. Like, I'm counting coins at this point. So when she gets to the register, she pulls out money. I'm like, all right, well, this is the perfect time to tell her I need the remainder of the balance. So I'm like, "Girl, I need the other 200. She's like, "Okay, here," slams 200s in my hand. Cool, I'm fine. I should be good with what's left of the initial 500 and this 200 for the weekend. Wrong. Wrong. Every single time we gotta go somewhere, I'm paying for the taxi. She'd be like, oh girl, I'm gonna go to the ATM. I got you. I wanna say on the first night we got invited to some like boat party. This thing is up by friggin' King of Diamonds. It's $35 one way from South Beach and $35 back. I paid $70. So now every time I'm eating, remember, you had the money in Forever 21. Like, I need you to come with that same energy and bring your dollars out, because I'm paying $22 for calamari at Clevelander. I'm paying $18 for a waffle at Big Pink. Now I need you to bring your money because I don't have any left. And again, with the pretty privilege, like at this time, we're paying $20 to get in a Cameo, $25 to get in all these different clubs, and still having to pay for a taxi. So by the third day, I'm like, yo, you gotta come with some money. Like, I can't be feeding you and feeding me on what, $250 for 4 days in South Beach. Like, let's be serious. So I've been letting her eat, but I mean, what am I gonna eat? And people are like, oh, get fast food. At this time in 2014, the only fast food on South Beach is Five Guys, which is not cheap. And it was a Whopper bar. So it wasn't even a full Burger King. It was just Whoppers after hours. So there's no, like, let me tell you, South Beach is expensive. We're in Wet Willie's. A drink is $28. Like, in a day, you could blow through that $250, and I gotta keep it. Not only that, but I need to keep cash on hand to get to the airport. Like, my Canadian debit card is not working, and the hotel put on my prepaid credit card is not gonna fall off until 3 to 5 business days after checkout. Like, I literally am surviving on the cash I have. So I get what you're saying. I'm glad all of y'all is Mother Teresa, but I mean, I literally didn't have it. I'm 5 months into a new country. Like, should I do what she did and spend all my rent money because I'm in Miami? Like, let's be serious. So this is my last response on the subject. She texts me, I want to say about 5 days later. I'm in Canada, I'm working, and let me tell you the craziest part. My dad, before I left for Miami, my dad was like, I'm having a bad feeling about it. But you know, African parents always be saying they're having a dream, so I ignored it. He was right. So I get back, and people ask me about the chicken wings. I couldn't even eat them. Like, I was shaking, packing my bag for the airport for 6 a.m. because I was crying. Like, you wanted me on the street. Like, I don't even think you can explain. Like, I was hyperventilating. I was crying and gasping for air. Like, I was shaking. Like, what did you want me to do? Like, I now live in Canada. I'm flying out of Fort Lauderdale. That's why I needed extra money. I'm flying out of Fort Lauderdale. And I'm like, did you want me to sleep in the airport? Like so much things was going through my head. So she sends me a text like, Caroline, where did we go wrong? What happened? So I responded back, what do you mean what happened? You wanted me to sleep on the street. You tried to get me kicked out in another country in Miami. Like, she was like, girl, I was just so messed up, but we have to talk about what happened. I was like, until you apologize, like until you talk about your role and trying to get me kicked out, trying to have me embarrassed, trying to put me on the street in Miami, there's nothing to talk about. She was like, oh, well, I thought you was trying to use the $14. So I responded back, your friendship is worth $14? And that was the last message. We never spoke again. She proceeded to create fake pages with her like preschool bestie, harassing me. Like, anytime somebody would like my picture on Instagram, she would respond to them like, oh, she's ugly, blah, blah, blah. I would allow it, right? She like messaged my sister on Twitter, was like, oh, your sister is ugly, blah, blah. Allowing it. I'm allowing it. I'm leaving it. So this goes on for almost 2 years, like 2014 to 2017. I'm in Atlanta for Labor Day weekend. I walk into Zara in Lenox. Guess who walks out of this dressing room? Her. So I see her and I'm like, yo, what's up? She runs. She drops all of her stuff and runs. So I call my friend and I'm like, yo, you'll never guess what I just saw in the mall. She's like, so what are you going to do? I was like, well, if God puts it on me to see her again, if I buck up with her again, I'm definitely going to say something. I'm in Forever 21 getting workout sets. Somebody asked me where my tights are from. That's where they from. And guess who comes out the dressing room? Her again. So I step in her way and I'm like, yo, the fake pages got to stop. She's like, oh, it was my friend. I didn't do anything. I said, listen, we don't have beef, but if it continues, we will literally have beef. It never happened again. We never talked again. And that's it. Hey guys, I'm dressed for work and I just wanted to address this comment really quickly before I run to my meeting. The reason why I started my now viral video about the beauty standards in Miami is because my friend thought that because she is a 10 in New York, she would be a 10 in Miami. Does that mean she's not a 10? No, she's still a 10. It's just the beauty standards in each city is different. So New York caters to a dark skinned, big booty crowd at the clubs that she goes to. You go to Houston, the beauty standard is Beyonce because that's where she's from. You go to Miami and they like a more Cuban, white, skinny standard. Now, does that mean that those people are more beautiful than the next? No. All it means is that the clubs are catering to their clientele. They know the men that buy the table. They know the men that buy the boots. They know the men that buy the bottles, like a certain look in a certain city. So that's all they're doing. So for her to come to Miami with no money, thinking that the looks that get her by, she could leave New York with just her cell phone and be good all night, is not the same in Miami. Now, does that mean you should stop going to Miami? No. I was in Miami 2 weeks ago. I'm a 5'3", 38-year-old, dark-skinned Nigerian American. Does that mean something's wrong with me? No. I may not attract their clientele, but that's not what I'm there for. So don't X yourself out of having fun because you don't meet the standard of that city. Bring your money and go enjoy yourself. I go to Miami to have brunch at Nikki Beach on Sundays. I go to Miami to have Cuban food at Puerto Sagua. I go to Miami to hit up Bar Harbor because there's certain things I can't get in Canada. But to say that I'm not gonna go because they cater to white women or Cuban women, there's no alternate reality where I could look like that. So I want you to understand that society is making you feel insecure because it breeds consumerism. The more you feel like something is wrong with you, the more you buy to fix it. Of course, you're going to keep seeing videos of how to fix your laugh lines. Imagine me clicking somebody Amazon storefront to fix laugh lines. Like, why would I at 38 want to make it seem like I've never laughed in my life? Like, the only way they can oppress you or make you feel insecure is if you buy into it. And this faceless society that is setting this beauty standard doesn't even look like the standard they're setting, because they make them more and more unrealistic, because it's more and more, it's less and less attainable so that you can buy more and more. It literally drives the economy. So I want to leave you with this. I'm created in the image of God, so there's nothing wrong with me because God is perfect. So don't let society make you think something's wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. You can only look like yourself and you look perfectly fine.
Girl, I told you this story was crazy. I told you it was crazy. Now, when it comes to my opinion regarding this entire situation, this story, this is just my 2 cents. We women tend to overlook the things that our friends do because it doesn't directly affect us. So when it comes to this story, I think this woman, her ex-friend of 8 years, I think she overlooked the fact that her friend had an entitled mindset. Now, the reason why she most likely overlooked it was because it didn't directly impact her, or it didn't affect her negatively. She may have benefited from the fact that her friend had an entitled mindset. Like if they went out, they got free drinks, or they got in free when they were back in New York, right? But in Miami, that entitled mindset quickly turned on her. And all of a sudden, her friend became entitled to her pockets. Let's be real here. Like, she didn't want to pay this girl her money. She wasn't even trying to give the girl the money that she owed her, knowing that she owed this girl money. That should have been the first thing that she did when she touched down in Miami, was to pay this girl back. But she didn't do that. So you got to be careful about letting things slide when it comes to your friends and their character, because it can say a lot about them. So her friend had this entitled mindset, but she really didn't think much about it because, again, I mean, it's not really affecting her. It didn't really start affecting her until she took this trip to Miami with her. And then all of a sudden she was required to pay for her food. She was required to pay the taxis, the transportation that took her, from the hotel into wherever they were going. And then like she just carried like this entitled mindset where she felt like she didn't even have to pay the girl back. And that's what I'm saying. It's like we tend to overlook these poor characteristics in women because it's not really affecting us. And in some cases, we may even benefit from the poor characteristic that they carry or poor characteristics that they carry. We may actually get some type of benefit from it. But as soon as things flip and things turn, like this trip took a turn for the worse because I don't know, maybe her funds just weren't there and she had this plan to go to Miami and have men pay for this and pay for that. And when she found out that her looks weren't going to pay her way, then all of a sudden she turned on her friend that she's been friends with for 8 years. And then all of a sudden she felt so entitled to her money. So you got to be careful about having friendships like this. But that's pretty much my opinion regarding this situation. I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions regarding this story. And if you're new here, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you're notified for when I upload. Also, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.